This episode is brought to you by Blue Door Financial. Blue Door Financial will help you save money and reduce taxes to live a fuller financial life. To learn more, visit Blue Door Financial online at BLUdoorfinancial.com. That's BLUdoorfinancial.com. Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr., and I'm your host for the On the Stacks podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Connor Scalleat, president of Scalleat Hospitality Group and co-owner of the Canning House. What's up, podcast episode 98 of the On the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door studio. Welcome to the show, Connor. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Bill. Very happy to be here. Thank you.
So from what I hear, this is like your first podcast.
First podcast, first time being on the Stacks, first podcast in general, and I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, I'm happy you're here. I thought at this point we'd be like 6 bagel sandos deep, but we're like 6 absolute mango mules.
And it's fantastic. Sometimes in life you need to pivot.
Right.
And it's 5:30, and I thought this would be appropriate.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, as they say.
Amen.
You know? Yeah. Where's the start, man? Like, I know, you've done a lot of different things. You've been into tech from a young age, from what I understand. So kind of take me back a little.
Yeah. So, I guess like the real starting point is when I met a good friend of mine in life, Mark Miscavige, and him and I actually met online as kind of being two people in the wilkes-barre area that didn't know each other IRL in real life,
IRL, yeah.
But we kind of knew each other, who each other were online. And, we both saw that our profiles kind of at the time, we were interested in a lot of the same things.
So what year was this?
Ooh, this had to probably be like 2011. Yeah, 2011.
Okay.
And so him and I, definitely knew we had a lot of similar interests, and we knew that there wasn't a lot of people around here that really wanted to talk tech or really talk shop, and him and I kind of, had a major hit off with that. And so when we were together, I think we had really realized that, we could definitely do something with small businesses in the area. Most of the small businesses websites, at the time we visited weren't the best. So him and I were, immediately gung-ho on that idea. And we started a website development company together. We called it Crate. And originally, we just met in the 900 building in the lobby. And we just kind of did work in there for maybe like 3 or 4 weeks, about close to a month probably. And that was kind of our main shop. And we had this very funny little phone, the first like VoIP on your phone app system where, you could call our number. It was a 1-800 number.
Oh, okay.
And, it went through all these things that you could press. There's like 8 different extensions. Yeah. You could call whoever you want. No, we didn't have a single client. We didn't make a single dollar. We're paying this, VoIP company $19.99, so you could call us and press 2 to speak to service. I don't know who was calling service, so we had no clients.
But you never know.
We had it. We were legitimate. We thought it was very cool.
You never know.
We never know. And so we had, we had some things that made us look, I guess, maybe a little more legitimate than we were, operating out of this basically lobby to this building.
I like that. So were we on the couch?
Oh yeah, straight up. Just watching everyone go in to go to Sakari and everything. We're just kind of sitting there like, we're running a web shop. What of it? And then
free rent.
Yeah, it was great. And then, I had that going on, which was so excellent. And then I met Dave, the building owner, and he was like, hey, you guys should pay me for this.
Yeah, hey, you're sitting here on my couch.
So we were like, well, we're 17, 16, we can't pay for an office space here. Dave, we love your building, love what you're doing. Obviously, we choose to work here because it's the coolest place, but nowhere near being able to afford this. We're paying $20 a month for a phone system we don't even need, let alone an office space.
Again, 2 for service.
No clients.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, well, I got a lot of projects that need web stuff. And he's like, I'd prefer you do those projects not in my lobby. And we were like...
I like this.
Understood, So, like, where do you have in mind? Obviously, because we're not going to do these web projects for free. So, give us some space. We'll help you with these projects, and it'll be kind of cool. So he's like, all right, done deal. He takes us upstairs. This guy named Eric was working upstairs. Now, you're going to have to forgive me. I don't know the name of Eric's company at the time. But what he did was he was a headhunter for tech firms. And so super interesting being placed to an office with him. And he was the only guy in this office kind of working remote for this bigger company. He was a tech recruiter. So it was very interesting as a bunch of young kids interested in tech being next to this tech recruiter, headhunter's office. And that's where we got placed. Today, it's kind of Balance Yoga's infrared sauna room, and they have changing rooms in there now and everything. But before, it was our kind of ghetto office where we had, Salvation Army furniture. We had a sticker on the door, which was the coolest thing. You know? We had our logo.
Sticker.
It was official. For all we were concerned, it was about as the biggest web company in northeastern Pennsylvania. You know, Chris Jones didn't stand a chance.
No,
we were doing it, and so then we started to work on Dave's projects, and I think that Mark and I quickly understood that we really had to get a niche going for ourselves, just doing kind of broad website development. It seemed as if it was at the time that a lot of the website software as a service companies were coming about, you know, the Squarespaces, the Wixes of the world. And I think Mark and I were both smart enough to know that we couldn't develop that, and stupid enough to know that, you know, we couldn't develop that. So we quickly pivoted and we're like, okay, like, you know, we think for the base small business website, you know, these guys are really going to own that market. And so, you know, if we just keep going down the road as providing basically what we were doing is services on top of those services in a non kind of niche way. And we pretty much knew that, like, okay, there's a lot of other players that are going to come in here who have a lot better client pipelines, who have much better client retention and services they could add on top of it. You know, we were just going to get destroyed. And so then, you know, we said to ourselves, okay, well, what else do we know? And, you know, Mark was very technical kind of guy. And, you know, where he was kind of experimenting at the time was VR, 3D virtual spaces. He was big on like the 3D camera tours of the places.
This is like almost like the metaverse, but like a long time ago.
Yes. And Mark was really on the cutting edge of that stuff. And it was so funny because I would always tell him, like, Mark, you know, we need to focus on building these, you know, dumb cookie cutter websites for these small businesses.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what pays the bills. You know, no one wants your 3D tour. No one has the Galaxy phone, whatever that you have, Mark, and no one cares. You know, like let's focus on like, you know, what it is that these small business owners are actually going to, you know, want to purchase and value that we can immediately add for them. And I think Mark was very much on the understanding of where everything was going, but I don't think that most small businesses' timetables, aligned. Yeah. There was no ROI immediately in sight for any of Mark's ideas in that realm. So I think that we were both kind of like, okay, so we obviously aren't going to be the big VR people. And so then we were like, what other niche could we have? And I was like, well, you know, I'm from the restaurant side of things and the restaurant business. And when you think about what small business websites you need to go on the most, it's quite largely for small business restaurants. Viewing menus, booking reservations, seeing pictures of the place, if you're booking a party, all of that, you know, and you know, many small businesses you go to certainly might go on their website to find their address or their hours, maybe some of the services they provide. But, you know, restaurants certainly much more in depth. You know, you're ordering off of a menu potentially on your phone. And at the time, you have to remember, like, most people's menus, everything was PDF. You know, and that was if the PDF, someone who worked there updated the PDF. So you're frequently pinching and zooming. Yeah. And then you finally call them after you've deliberated for an hour of pinching and zooming. And, you know, that was last year's menu, you know. So Mark and I were like, okay, there's enough pain in this market. We have enough background knowledge. And we think that, you know, our solutions here actually could fill a need. So we were like, okay, we have to tighten it up, not be so broad, and, you know, really just focus on restaurants. And then that's 100% what we did. And obviously, we had a good client pool to start with, my family's restaurants.
Yeah, so talk about that a little, too.
That worked. So I had always worked in our family's businesses. The core group, Scalleat Hospitality Group, as is known today, consists of the Powerhouse Eatery in Whitehaven, Pennsylvania. We're an old coal-fired power plant converted into a restaurant, which is super cool and unique. We have the Oval on Bar and Grill in Hazleton. It's been a continuous restaurant since 1946. It's kind of our old school Italian spot. The beauty of the Oval On, or some of the things that we think are so great, is that it never changes, you know? So it's kind of a blast from the past, and we would like to keep it like that. And then, of course, I think the brand that you're most familiar with, the Canning House, kind of our more exuberant, young, youthful, hip, dare I say, vibe.
Yeah.
But over there, we really focus a lot more also like on the community element outside of the restaurant. You know, opening a lunch restaurant and being a community-driven restaurant is kind of a little bit different than our other restaurants we've operated in the past. You know, the Powerhouse is certainly a dining destination. And, you know, I think we have customers for sure that come from everywhere, and people who especially come from, 45 minutes away on a regular basis. So when you're opening a community restaurant, I think we definitely, wanted to think about that a little more. The Canning House is definitely something that's in people's daily lives and maybe not so much of a special occasion type of restaurant. And so, that's where we really started with the art, and we try to make it also as web friendly as possible at the Canning House. I think, we really understood that my background and Natalie's background, both hers in social media and mine kind of in web development, that our secret sauce and getting to the customer and servicing the customer could be that experience being better. So I think that that's kind of the full scale circle there.
So I think I kind of sidetracked you there, but we skipped ahead like 10 years, I think.
I think we did.
But that's okay. I kind of asked you to go that way.
I think we did. We skipped ahead.
So let's
Maybe
go
we'll drill back.
Yeah, let's reel it back a little. So you thought you were building this niche in the restaurant business in the web world.
Yes. Okay. So building the niche in the restaurant business in the web world. So we started with my parents' restaurants, and that is what definitely got the ball rolling. Expanded to some coffee shops here in Wilkes-Barre, IBOP. Maybe some might be familiar with that shop while it was operational. And then right around that time, it was time to leave for college once Mark and I really wrapped that up. And Mark and I weren't, I would say, extremely into the world of academics. I went to a college prep school my whole life, so I was definitely on that path. But I think at that time, I was deliberating with this idea of running a small business and being an entrepreneur, and should I want to go to college? And, I think him and I both landed on the idea that the risk was too large to go on the entrepreneur end. Maybe something that I wish I wouldn't have done. Who knows? But we decided to kind of play it easy, I guess, if you will. We went to college because that's kind of what everyone else was doing. We were like, let's not buck the system.
Yeah, let's do what everyone else is. Yeah,
safe. Seems safe. So we moved to New York. We both went to Pace University. We both definitely did not super exceed in college. Just what wasn't keeping our interest. I think Mark and I both did a lot of
academically,
yeah. Both doing a lot of things outside of college, and largely a lot of that was trying to reestablish Crate in New York. And so we joined with a pizza shop, and they're kind of more of a fine dining Italian restaurant, but Trattoria Saya Pizza. And we started there. The place was called Gnocco. When we launched, right down the block from there came up a place called the Arepa Factory. And they were doing these Venezuelan-style sandwiches, and they were kind of more of a franchise model, which was cool for us because we had never done anything outside of a small business restaurant. So we kind of got to see them expand from their one spot in East Village. Then they went to Herald Square. Then they opened a place in Fidei, and we were kind of their marketing partner and web development partner all throughout that.
And so this was you guys were like freshmen, sophomores in college doing this.
That was super fun.
That's cool.
And it was also great because in New York, you need money to do absolutely anything.
Everything just to get, up the street.
Literally. And so if we wanted to do anything, we quickly realized we're going to need to make some cash, and this was a good way for us to do that. Him and I had so much fun doing that. And then it's funny because Mark went and got a job at a cryptocurrency online magazine, I guess technically it was.
What year is this?
This was now when we were graduating college, 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, so Mark went and he started to work in that world. I remember at the time he told me, I'm going to work for this cryptocurrency online publication. And I was like, damn, dude, I think you're crazy. The cryptocurrency shit's definitely stupid. This is just dumb, man. I just don't understand.
What did he say?
Yeah, he's like, you don't understand. You don't understand the implications of what's about to happen. And I was like, you're right. The dog coin, I don't understand the implications of what's about to happen, Mark. That's correct. I'm right over my head. And then, so he made that separation. Him and I kind of had a separation even kind of in life then. I was very much couldn't understand.
Dude, you're crazy.
Yeah, what are you doing, dude?
Fake currencies,
Yeah, it's just not for me. And so then he kind of left. He not left, but really focused on that. And so I was kind of just doing the Crate thing alone there for a little bit. And honestly, I think I kind of largely got sidetracked from the business and got more excited about the money that was coming in then with the business, because there was no partner there with me, no one to be yeah, you shouldn't go to the nightclub and blow that money. That's a dumb idea.
Yeah. So you did that.
I did that. Yes. Made some bad moves in New York. You know what?
But hey, it was fun.
It was a lot of fun, learning experience for sure. But then I'm sitting there and I'm realizing
you were networking.
I was networking. Yeah. Very much so networking. Yeah. That's definitely what it was. Yeah. Eric the headhunter would definitely be wondering my questionable decisions of what I was headhunting. But yeah, really realized that I don't think that I have the mental strength to be able to operate in this city kind of on my own, operating a company in the city on my own at the time, and kind of also having this juxtaposition of like not really loving college. So, you know, there was very much the angst in me of like, okay, I don't really want to go to college. I don't really want to go to these classes. So maybe a lot of times that didn't happen. So then I'm doing other things in the city, you know, and I'm thinking to myself like, okay, like, am I going to get any ROI on this time that I'm like putting into any of this? And it's like, the answer to all those questions is kind of no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I never thought I wanted to get into the restaurant business. And I had grown up in these restaurants.
Why did you think you didn't want to get into it?
I think I largely didn't want to get into it because I was really excited about tech. And it wasn't so much that I didn't love the restaurant business. It was just more that I was more excited about tech. And I also think I saw like, you know, maybe more opportunity in that realm.
Yeah. Okay.
And so my dad calls me and he tells me that my dad at this time is getting more elderly. And he started to deal with some medical complications like Parkinson's and things of that nature. So he, you know, started to unroll, wanted to exit, you know, largely a lot of his positions, I guess, in the restaurant business. And our farthest away location at the time was Connor's Grill Room up in Dallas. And he had called me one day and he's like, hey, you know, we're thinking about listing Connor's Grill Room for sale. You know, do you have any interest in coming home and potentially running it? Or, you know, is this what you want to happen? And I was like, oh, no, you know, I have no interest. You guys do what you have to do. Understood. You know, I'm here to back you up on these decisions. Love everything. And, you know, so then I continued my thing in New York. And then at that point, like, now I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, like, you know, the thing I'm working on right now is probably not going the way that I want it to be going, like, that I envisioned it in my head. And now seeing what's going on back home, like, kind of where I came from, maybe being dismantled as well, I was like, okay, you know, what is it that I really want to do in life? And I saw Mark kind of go in that crypto realm, and I kind of, like I said, had that aversion to that. And I think that's when I went and really fell maybe in love with hospitality and realized maybe I go the exact opposite, you know, which way I was going, and a lot less digital, a lot more people-based, but with that digital skill in my back pocket. And maybe that could be my secret sauce of competing in this kind of, you know, legacy hospitality business with this technical piece of knowledge in my back pocket, instead of maybe leading with the tech, lead with maybe more what I know, and then have my, you know, kind of secret sauce, secret abilities that I know I can do, you know, in my back pocket. And then the day came, my dad called me about selling the Powerhouse. And then I was like, ooh, don't know. So then I decided that I wanted to come home and help run the Powerhouse. And so that was probably about the summer of 2018.
So did you graduate?
I did not graduate. So I left Pace. My degree was a minor in economics and a minor in computer science. And I had 12 credits left, all of which had nothing to do with my minor. They were all gen eds or some arts things that I should have been done before I was even in this position. And I was, you know, just totally in the position that I was like, I need to get out of here now. And I even had my lease on an apartment, you know, that I was paying for in New York. And I was just like, I knew it was the time to make a switch up. You know what I mean? Like, you get in those places in your life and you know where you want to be, you know the reality of where you are, and you know like the potential you could have. And you got to just say to yourself, like, okay, you know, like, this is a sunk cost. All of these decisions I've already made. This has already happened. None of that is going to provide me any value as I move forward. So I just got to, you know, ditch the sunk cost.
Cut your losses.
Cut my losses and move forward. You know what I mean? And so that's...
Were your parents supportive of that?
Fully supportive. That was
awesome.
A great piece. Yes. Because they were definitely also like supportive of potentially me not wanting to go to college. But they definitely wanted to see me go to college.
Sure.
And after paying like years of prep school, I was like, understood. Yeah. Like, I think I owe it to you.
They invested a little bit into it already.
It was an investment, right? You know, so I was like, I owe, you know, I definitely felt like I had to follow through with this. This is a path that was set up for me. Love that path, by the way. I think that, you know, all education that you can have that can never be taken away from you, you know, so that's a very powerful thing. You know, graduating, not graduating, maybe I'll get those 12 credits and pull in a degree, you know.
Yeah.
But on my radar, you know, learned so much in college about economics, everything else. That was what I was there for. That was fun. And, you know, anything else that wasn't that, I guess I just had maybe an ignorant mindset and was just like, oh, I'm not interested in that. Don't want to learn it, you know. And maybe as you grow older in life, you're like, all right, I kind of do need a more holistic education, you know. So maybe I'll filter in on this.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of where I've ended up. And how the tech piece and the hospitality piece came together. I think it's largely tech was the love of what I was really interested in, and the hospitality piece is, what I felt like I knew, that I was really secure about, and I had grown up in it, and loved also what my family had built. Really loved the Powerhouse. Think it's an institutional restaurant, and
for sure
want to see it flourish into the future. So if you feel like that about things, I think you got to go out there and represent what you do. And, for me, that was exactly that. And so now we're here today with the Canning House, the Powerhouse, and the Ovalon. My wonderful girlfriend, Natalie, runs Counterpart Kombucha. She's also a co-owner of the Canning House with me.
Shout out to Natalie.
And at the time when we opened the Canning House, we were actually remodeling the Powerhouse. And so some of the chairs that I brought for our On the Stacks pictures, if you will.
Yeah, so we sat on some chairs. We were like miniature, small chairs, giant forks.
Correct.
It was like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Mumbo Wumbo.
Right?
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So the history of the chairs, of the two pieces there, so depending on who you're a customer of, if you're an old school customer of the Powerhouse, you're going to recognize that chair and say it's a Powerhouse chair. If you've only been a customer of the Canning House, you're going to say, oh, that's the Canning House chair.
Yeah, right.
And the fun thing about that chair is it's been in food service operation with us as a group since 1989. I can't even honestly probably put a number on the amount of thousands of people that have sat in that chair. And as the Powerhouse was getting remodeled, we were opening the Canning House. So all of the furniture today that's in the Canning House, the booths, the tables, the chairs, are all from the Powerhouse.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and all of it was just kind of funked up. We painted it all and screwed it all up, and we redid all the booths, and all the high tops, they're actually bar stools that are on the bar, and all of that type of stuff. So it's a completely reformatted version of the Powerhouse, which is super fun. And then the kind of new modern chair is the remodeled Powerhouse, which was kind of a crazy experience because I'd come back from college to start taking over a restaurant. And, one of the first things, obviously, when you're taking over a 30-year-old restaurant, you need to refurnish a lot of it. And a lot of the equipment that was there was all kind of, at its time, ready to be changed. And so that was a crazy project, basically coming home and then embarking on rebuilding the entire restaurant. And then as soon as that was done, we all went over to the Canning House and started to rebuild that dining room with all the stuff that was left over from the Powerhouse.
It's crazy.
It was crazy. It was the craziest 6 months of my life. And then we open and we're operating for maybe 9 months, and then coronavirus hits. So the first 3 or 4 years of the restaurant operational experience have been, I think I've really gotten to learn a lot.
Yeah, you got a whole lifetime experience probably.
It really was. Yeah, the Powerhouse is cool too because we had an architect who had came in and he specialized in, kind of restaurant remodeling, and I got to learn so much working with these folks. They all of the booths, all of the tables, chairs, pieces of cooking equipment, everything handmade in America, which is awesome. Got to go and visit a lot of the vendors that were making the booths, making the chairs, seeing the tabletops before they were done. So got to learn a lot about restaurant construction. And then when the Canning House time came around, Natalie and I certainly did not have the budget, that the Powerhouse had being an established business to go and remodel. So we kind of bootstrapped the knowledge of what we learned of rebuilding the Powerhouse. And it was great because it took 3 major months of getting all that planned. And then the Powerhouse was completely gut and redone in 10 days. So it was 3 months of learning, 10 days of execution on the ground. And then we were open for a week, at the Powerhouse, and then it was start the Canning House. So it was we almost didn't forget anything we learned, you know what I mean?
Holy
so we were
yeah,
ready to rumble. So we didn't hire anyone to do anything at the Canning House. The only thing that was done at the Canning House was the floors by Jeff over at Fashion Floors. He came in, and we just redid the Powerhouse floors with him. So, and we've kind of picked out exactly what we want. And then we were Jeff, we don't got the same budget at this project.
Yeah, Jeff, this is low budget here.
This is low budget, man. What are we going to do? And he's oh, I got the craziest vinyl tile floors that I don't know, some project, being that they are so crazy, probably didn't want them, and he's but they look great there. And he never showed us these floors. And we were just kind of hey, did a great job at the Powerhouse.
We'll take it.
We'll take it. And so they come in and they start putting the floor down. We were damn, this is really cool. Loved it. And the kitchen, all of those pieces, literally took all of the drawings and everything that was done at the Powerhouse, looked at everything they were doing, all the parts they were ordering, and basically just duped it over at the canning house and try to just take everything that we could possibly see that a professional did, understood how they did it, and then try to replicate it ourselves. And that was a really crazy experience because I'm also more of a digital guy, not a handy guy.
Yeah. So how was that for you?
Wild. That was definitely, and it was definitely one of the most best accomplishments, like when it was done. You know what I mean? I could definitely say I've never been involved in a project that I probably, wasn't prerequisite knowledge fitted.
Felt unqualified.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I couldn't have been more unqualified. And then when the thing was done and like I saw the actual kitchen like working and operational, and I was like, damn, like
I did it.
This works. Yeah, like I did it and this works. Then of course, like, you change it and there's configurations and you quickly learn that you had no idea. Like,
yeah.
Like,
we tried,
so, but then we altered that and, the whole thing really has been just kind of a learning experience throughout and just like never losing sight of, I guess, the things that where you want it to end up, and everything else, in there is just the middle, the dirt, it's just hard work. I think, you know what I mean? Everything between where you want to go and what's happening now is just, organizing yourself to be able to reach that point and then realizing how much hard work you got to put in. And I think, the mixture of those two things, and I guess being young and dumb, is really just an exciting cocktail.
Yeah.
And
I think that's the best thing about it though.
It is.
Because like you're not afraid.
Yeah. And it was definitely a very scary thing. Opening a restaurant is never easy. 60% of restaurants don't make it past 2 years. So
the restaurant business is scary.
Yeah, metrics aren't there for you. Single digit margins.
Odds are against you.
Odds are against you. Yeah, you got to be a little crazy, I think. And so I think you also just have to have a really deep passion it is for what you want to communicate to your guests. And for us, it's always been the history piece. You're dining in a piece of history in the area, which we believe is extremely powerful because it connects multiple age groups at a table. So you can come now with, your child, and your grandfather could be there, and it's this whole multi-generational thing. And you'll all point out different things in our dining rooms because you'll have been through different generations. And there's so many things that are on display in our dining rooms that are a piece of the past, certainly here in northeastern Pennsylvania, whether it be the Sterling Hotel chandelier at the canning house, whether it be all the original power transfusers that are hung in the back dining room of the powerhouse, whether it be the Oval Bar at the Ovalon, it's been in operation since 1946. All of these fun pieces of history that we are able to preserve in our restaurants and our four walls. I think like that is major secret sauce. And then on top of that, like being off of a highway, that one's great. And
also
then,
secret sauce?
Yeah, that was maybe not so secret, but definitely the sauce.
Yeah.
And having parking, another one that people seem to forget about when they go to embark on businesses. And I just, parking in northeastern Pennsylvania is so important. So important,
It's pretty important. Almost as important as the giant fork and knife behind me.
Almost as important, yeah.
Yeah.
And and the food is obviously a huge part of the restaurant, too.
Yeah.
And the food piece is something where also being in New York, so Nyoko, the restaurant that I was doing the web design for, I was also at the time became amazingly great friends with the owner. He really became kind of someone who I looked up to, and they needed some help, filling in or whatever. So I'd always be more than happy to jump in and do that. And then in my time in the city, it was really, my education was certainly much more going to all the different exciting restaurants and everything that was happening in New York. And I really loved that. And I mean, I was always searching out the new place to go. I was very into reading any of the food reviewers in the city of a lot of the more fine dining places they were going, seeing a lot of these new menus, which were incredibly thoughtful. I mean, like these people aren't just putting dishes together that are there to taste good, They're putting dishes together that are usually plays on classical dishes that are, grounded in history, whether it be the preparation process, the sourcing of the materials, anything of that nature. So that really caught my interest. And I really also thought to myself, I really maybe want to bring some of this home to NEPA. At our restaurants, before I showed up, we're largely a protein, potato, and vegetable
traditional
type of plate, So we wanted to switch that up. Got a bunch of new vendors in. One of the ones I really like to mention is Baldor. They're based out in New York. I used to see all their trucks dropping off to all the restaurants in New York, and I was always like, what's up? Like, I've never seen this around us. Like, what's up with these guys? And it's so cool. They were the first kind of, broadliner, and broadliners in the food service business are the distributors that kind of carry everything. So, you can get your paper towels all the way through, onions, steaks, all of that. That's a broadliner. And Baldor was super unique because they actually backhauled all of their product. So when they're out distributing their product, now the other broadliners do this too, but they're not picking up from local farms. So let's say they're in Whitehaven, Pennsylvania, dropping off at the powerhouse. They're going to stop in Hazleton at Koch's Turkey Farm and pick up the turkey. Now, that's the turkey that we use at the canning house. Now, that product then gets backhauled to their warehouse, along the way, and then they can be redistributed out. So versus the major vendors who typically just stop at all the major distros and kind of, reorganize where the food goes, these guys are actually picking up from primary source, the farms, and then backhauling that back and then redistributing it, which is super cool. And then on top of that, at the time, they had no food rep. No rep associated with their company at all. You had an online login, you bought all your food through there, and that was it. And that at the time was, any old school restaurant person was like, that's crazy.
Can't do that.
Can't do that. It's ridiculous. Who do you pay? How do you pay? How do you trust these guys? I remember that was always the number one question. How do you trust these people to show up, And they used to come with their trucks 6 days or 7 days a week. Now, all the other major broadliners are 2 to 3 days. You pick your days, whatever. It's like, and I could order an 11 p.m. cutoff for next day. And all the other guys are 2 days out, on when you have your cutoffs. And so anytime anyone brought to me that idea, how do you trust these guys? How do you trust anything else? I don't rely on a person. I go on my website, it doesn't matter if the person answers or not. I place my order, the truck's always there the next day. And their ability with the backhauling and being able to get all of these much smaller ingredients really changed the game, at least for us, because we could actually source product that was in our backyard and service in our restaurants without becoming a logistics company.
So this is the other secret sauce.
The other secret sauce. Yeah, I guess for sure. And I guess what the biggest problem of being a restaurant that says you're going to source all these local things is you quickly realize, especially if you're doing it at scale, multi-concept location like we are, is that, okay, then half of your business is logistics and distribution. You have to go then, these smaller farms specialize usually. They're not a farm where you can go and you usually get poultry, beef products, vegetable products, and fruit, Not really a one-stop shop around here. So the ability for Baldor to look at the local farms that are around us because they're delivering around us and then backhaul from them so that we could actually get local farms from around us having their food at our locations, that was huge, And so we largely then started to develop all of our menus around just the seasonality of what Baldor had in stock, or what we call peak season. Anything that was in peak season was kind of our rubric or our building blocks for starting a menu. Hey, you got to stick within these confines of here's what's in peak season. Tell our communicate with our culinary teams about that. And that really became something that was definitely special for us because we were able to all communicate on the same page and all had the same palette to start from. We were all a bunch of artists going into a room, and largely when you're doing food development, everyone kind of has their own idea of what they want to do, and there's a billion ingredients. So good luck on coming to the table with the same 6 ingredients.
Yeah.
And so that was, that palette really allowed us, I think, to develop something that became a lot more focused on the sourcing of our product being 1, local, 2, sustainable, and then 3, I think, price point. That is another huge point that I don't think everyone talks about all the time. To be able to source some, especially in the world of seafood, the integrity of product that we believe that we want to source, price is largely a proponent of that. And then especially you go to Wegmans, best example is salmon. You could see a salmon, from $7.99 a pound to $41 a pound for King Aura. So
big difference.
Huge, yeah. And so when you're making these decisions and building these menus, I think we've gotten better over the years at understanding the implications of best we could do within price and how can we also potentially change preparation style of the way that we prepare the protein in the product to add more value to maybe a protein that's less desired or something that someone normally wouldn't use. And that's a huge piece of restaurants and the sustainability and sourcing side of when you go to the store, you know how to cook, let's say maybe a pork tenderloin, but you might not know what to do with a pork butt. So we can fill, kind of in on that side of filling those products that don't get used as much in grocery, prepared by more expert culinary people and delivered to you for something you really enjoy. So I think that was, largely beneficial to both the supply side and the customer side and our culinary team. It's not fun to come in and cook. It's very easy to be a chef when you have the best products, in terms of like the best protein that you could possibly buy. Like if you screw up a fillet, that's on you. Like,
yeah.
There's no, there's nothing that you had to do besides cook that fillet
the right way.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we like to bring in product that definitely our people can add value to. If you bring in the best chop in the world, that's fantastic. But I think then you have to wrap it around with the best service, or how can you add value to that piece of product outside of just having the best thing that's sourced in the restaurant. And I think that we think about that all the time with our menu. And there's just the realities of food, and not all seasons there's strawberries, not all the time can you get, asparagus. And if that's the vegetable that all you want to eat,
right.
We have to think about that on menus and be a little bit more holistic of, okay, we understand this might not be something that everyone sees in a grocery store and wants immediately, but there's so many fun things you could do with it. I think like bok choy is a great example. Wegmans now has a huge bok choy section. Before that didn't even really exist at our local Wegmans. And I think a lot of that becomes, people see it on restaurant menus. And I think that does so much beneficial for not only home cooks, but also just like to utilizing all this amazing food product we have that, gets thrown away, doesn't get used. People don't know what to do with it. I think that's a huge part.
All right. So at this point, I think it might be a good segue to talk about the fact that now your menu, or at least part of your menu, is an NFT.
That is correct. Yeah. So we've done something really fun and definitely on the frontier of kind of what's going on right now.
So you married your tech background, which I think is really interesting, and I want to kind of highlight that. You once again combined your tech with your restaurant.
Yes. So there's a wonderful girl who works for us named Abby Lebetsky. She is
What's up, Abby?
What's up, Abby? She's an expediter at the Canning House. For those of you who don't know what expediter is, she kind of brings out all of the food and organizes all the tickets.
Is that the definition?
Yeah. Okay. Official Scalleat Hospitality definition of expediter.
Okay. Thank you.
Certainly.
All right, go on.
And so Abby is an incredible artist, the most amazing, like hand-scaled artist. And she used to bring takeout bags home and draw on them. These amazing pieces of art that were sometimes Canning House related, sometimes not. And I'm looking at these things and I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, like, this is so amazing. I don't want to discourage this, but also, like, we need to do something better than, like, put this on a bag and then give it to a customer and, like, they didn't even see it, they probably throw it away, whatever. Like, we need to hold on to these. So I was talking to Abby, what could we do with these, in the restaurant? We never really hit to any idea. So now I have all these pieces of art that she starts sending me that she's digitally doing. And I'm just like, we're all like, this is all so good. Like, what can we do with this? And I think I got stuck at home quarantining or something. And that's exactly what it was. I was quarantining and I got huge into NFTs. And it was just like really exploded. For anyone who, I guess, does not know.
Yeah, explain what an NFT is.
An NFT is a non-fungible token. Now, that is not probably a great explanation. So what I mean by that is
I think we need a little more.
It's a one-of-one asset that exists on a blockchain, and that asset is found via the asset's address on that blockchain, and that's how it becomes one of one. And so that asset then also exists in your wallet once you own it. And so what we've kind of done with our NFT is anyone who has a Canning House menu item. By that I mean a menu item that Abby has illustrated, and she does everything by hand, but it is digitally done, iPad Pro. And we then take that asset and we coin it on the Ethereum blockchain. OpenSea allows us to do that. OpenSea is an online marketplace for NFTs. Think of OpenSea as like the Amazon of NFTs. So if you're in the market to find an NFT, OpenSea is kind of like the multi-channel search bar of NFTs. So we listed our NFT on there. And when I say the Ethereum blockchain, I guess that's something maybe that should be not totally unpacked, but like understood.
Yeah, but let me kind of back up here.
Yeah.
What made you say like, hey, we're gonna take Abby's drawings and skill and we're gonna turn it into an NFT?
Well, I think I had enough conversations with people that they didn't understand the value of an NFT. There's multiple use cases of NFT, right? Like there's one which is backed by real world things. which would be this example at the canning house. You can buy this menu item as an NFT and then come into the canning house with that NFT in your wallet, which is the
digital wallet.
Yes.
For those that are thinking like, hey, I'm coming in with my leather wallet.
Your digital wallet on your phone. MetaMask is an example. We won't go into that. But yes, you have it in your digital wallet. And as long as you show us that you're the owner of that NFT, then you can get that menu item for free. So that's an example of an NFT having a real world tangible value. And so I thought that obviously, I think our area here, it's a lot easier if you can touch, feel something, because we also don't have any digital transactions that are happening in our small businesses around here on a day-to-day basis that are of that nature. There's not too many businesses around here that you could pay with a cryptocurrency, with a QR code or something of that nature. So I think it's easier if someone has a real-world tangible thing they can get. Another example of where an NFT might be used in the future, because again, it is non-fungible, one of one. In addition, you can also see all of the owner's history because it exists on the blockchain. So the blockchain, think about it, decentralized ledger that exists that everyone can see. By that, I mean a ledger of keeping track of value, who owns what, how much they own. In this terms, it's an asset, the NFT itself, who owns that NFT, who has owned it in the past, and how much did they pay for it to be transferred between them. And then in kind of an aside to that, you have smart contracts, which exists on top of NFTs. What a smart contract is it is a piece of programming on top of that NFT or code that's written within it that allows you to have exactly as it sounds, a smart contract tied to it. So I guess like a great example we could use that's very real world. In the future, 100% your house, the deed to your home will probably most likely be an NFT. And the idea of selling your house is probably more than likely going to be done on a smart contract and not through a realtor. So think about some of the things that you need. You need to have your financing lined up to have a house, whether or not you'd have the cash backed by a mortgage, whatever it is, your scenario, you need to prove that you have the financing lined up. You need to have proof that you have the insurance lined up, for once you own the home, that you're going to have homeowner insurance, whatever. And then all the other little details that, a realtor fills out with you that, all these things you need to have lined up, ready to go to purchase that house. A smart contract could be deployed on top of that says, okay, if customer X has homeowner's insurance, has, all of his paperwork cleared and has the funds, we've seen them, in X wallet and they're ready to go, you could sell a house pretty much instantaneously with that smart contract.
Instead of having to wait like 90 days.
Exactly. And that is incredibly profound. And then having a title to your car, which is a piece of paper that is the proof of ownership of your vehicle. Without it, it is nothing. That exists in 2022. That's happening. There's paper car ownership, and there's no history of, there's the Carfax or whatever the
show me the Carfax.
Yeah, whatever the kind of centralized, if you will, company who's going to own the car's data for you so that you can see it, is now going to become decentralized. Like titles.
Yeah, and explain decentralized.
Yes.
Because I feel like some people may know, some people may not, but it kind of goes against all the traditional old school methods, right? Yes.
So I think the best way to maybe set this one up is we are about to embark on Web3. I would say that most everyone who's listening to this podcast is definitely, obviously, because they're listening to this, a part of Web 2. And maybe some of them are part of Web 1. Web 1 really 1991 to 2005. Web 2, 2005 to now. Let's break it down super simply. Web 1, you can only read. And you could hyperlink between text. You could hyperlink between pages where you can come online and consume only. Web 2, you can read and write. So now you can go on YouTube, watch a video, and upload a video. You can now go on Twitter, read a tweet, and post a tweet. So that was, the Web 2 piece. Now think about what happened in Web 2. There are kind of these watering holes, I like to call them, that got set up. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Google. By watering hole, I mean everyone who comes on there comes into the forest, if you will. The only way to figure out anything else is if you go to these main areas where then you can, learn about what else is out there and kind of embark from there. But when you are on those main areas and you're learning about what else is out there, the way that you're kind of paying for that is your data. And those centralized networks, the Facebooks of the world, the Googles of the world who also own YouTube, the Facebooks who also own Instagram, they're taking all of that data that you're freely giving them. That's the contract that you've signed up for when you sign up. And they're using that data, packaging it and selling it, and everything that people want to go on their network to see, you've created. So, you as, maybe the person who's creating content that might do great on TikTok or on Instagram, you are posting that content and they own that content. And on some of the cases, they might share some revenue. TikTok shares revenue. Instagram doesn't pay out $1. YouTube shares revenue. Facebook does not. So they own the platform and they are centralized. By that, I mean, and a great example would be, no political affiliation here, but there's certainly a great example. Twitter banned Trump. That is a centralized platform, and he got removed from that for breaking the terms and conditions, and that's totally okay. That's the rules that they set. They're a private company, and that's it. Versus a blockchain, versus a Web3 company, you own all the assets that you share. And by that, I mean everything that you have is existing in your wallet. And that wallet is kind of like the ability to log on to any website and bring all of your assets with you. So imagine when you go on Instagram and you log in with your Facebook and it's like select a profile picture and you could pull some of the profile pictures from Facebook over to Instagram to set it up. You know what I mean? They're like, here, you can use these. Imagine with your wallet, everywhere where you log in, all of the things, all the digital assets you own live in there. So as soon as you attach your wallet, connect your wallet to any Web3 service, your entire digital existence, all the things that you own, all the things that you have are now on there. And these smart contracts that you have, they're able to set up like a piece of code. Like let's say, okay, Bill, if you bought the Canning House NFT for $50, let's say, I, as the creator of that NFT, have a smart contract that I get 5% anytime it switches hands. So now without my doing, you can go sell it to your friend on the blockchain. It's familiar with that smart contract, and that smart contract has to be executed for the sale to go through. And so then you can start really tying in together, all of these pieces that are like, okay, so you have your wallet, you're going to be going on websites just that are, I guess the real question was, what is decentralized? Is where we started there.
It was, yeah. But this is good though.
This is good.
This is good.
Decentralized in the form of it is not hosted on a single company's server. They exist across multiple computers that are part of the blockchain. And what they are trying to do is solve usually pieces of cryptography or hash cache. That is, every time there is a solution to that piece of cryptography, it is put on the ledger and it states that everything's kind of checked and balanced out. Meaning Bill sent Connor this asset and this much money went from his account to Bill's account and everything's all checked and balanced out.
And it's instantaneous, right?
Pretty instantaneous. Yeah, all depends on how much network congestion is going on. So when you transfer an asset online with kind of this new age of thinking, you do have to pay what's called gas fees. And those are...
So this is like gasoline.
It is.
But I'm in Web3.
To power the transaction. Because there is no longer a Facebook who is going to float the bill to run all of these data centers.
Sure, okay.
Because you are no longer the product. You know what I mean? So
yes,
there's not going to be the centralized gatekeeper who's going to say, oh, you can participate as long as you give us all of your data.
Yeah.
For free.
Yeah, exactly.
For free.
So we're giving that up.
Giving that up. Yeah, you are. So you do have to pay interchange fees, gas fees. Now we're not going to go too deep into this because we get real crazy.
We go down a real big rabbit hole.
Real big rabbit hole. But some networks have cheaper gas fees than others. And those are built, the technology, the core of what they're trying to solve with those coins is potentially the idea of transferring assets versus the idea of storing value. Maybe coins that you have to store value with, those might be high gas fees because there's a network that is really, priding itself on storing value as their core value prop versus a network, whose core value prop may be buying a coffee, which is sending, actual dollars to someone at a cheap rate. So like my credit card processors and all of our businesses, that's 2 to 3%. We're talking 0.2% of the fee of being able to transfer money. And you think about it, today we exist in a world where there's 4 major companies that allow you to transact value digitally. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. If you find any small businesses in this area that has a 5th one, I'd love to know about it. Give me a call.
Like that accepts crypto?
Or accepts anything, like we think mainstream financial products.
Yeah, the only one I know of.
You have cash and you have cards.
I do know of one.
Fire.
It's Brand Dental. He accepts cryptocurrency as a form of payment.
Now that's awesome. Yes. So that's that additional form that is in the new, the new era. But now, actually now, back then, maybe even crypto, let's say even a decade ago, there's only 4 options to process a payment. and you as a merchant have to basically pay 2 to 4%, kind of depending on where you're falling. That's huge. You know what I mean? And the fact that I can't just quickly be like, oh, well, I don't want to go with that, I'll go with something else, doesn't exist. So like as well, like when that time happened of like being a merchant as well, and like seeing like, oh boy, like this seems like a pretty like market that needs disruption. I mean, but I've been around my entire existence now. I've never heard of a new credit card being launched outside of the 4 that have already existed. I've never seen anything.
No such thing.
Nothing new ever happened. So I was like, obviously there's going to be a huge disruption here. Like I'm paying, close to $100,000 in credit card processing fees across all sorts of locations. And like, I don't have a choice, there's no other mode. Now it's not like my methodology for getting into crypto.
Yeah.
But
I think but you have a choice now.
Yeah. And I think when you start thinking about that and you start thinking about the ways that you can use blockchain or potentially NFTs to make these daily transactions that we think about are so mundane. It's like, oh, of course you pay the 2%. Of course you pay the 3%. Of course it takes 90 days to buy a house. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. And I think that is what you're really about to see get disrupted massively. And I mean, you could go even farther, like tickets to like a 76ers game. Those are one of one. They could be sold as NFTs. The 76ers are a partner of crypto.com. So they are definitely going, I would imagine,
They're into it.
Yeah. You're going to see 76er tickets done in NFTs for sure. And then those tickets again could be resold. So now as the Sixers, you have a whole nother business that you could operate. Well, not really, but selling these tickets. Now you, Bill Corcoran, have the ticket. Let's say something crazy happened at the game you went to. Became a memorable game, forever memorable. Well, now you could sell that ticket that you have as an NFT to somebody else on OpenSea, on any kind of eBay of, NFTs, any marketplace. You go put yours on there and sell it. Now, the 76ers, they could put a smart contract on there that says, hey, we make 5%.
So they make up a commission every time it gets resold.
Right. And if you look at the majority of artists that are doing something with NFTs now, NFTs largely, I think the best example is art. Second best is gaming. But, either way, majority of the money that they're making is not the first time that it's sold. It's not the first time that the artist debuts the Mona Lisa and sells the Mona Lisa. It's many years after that, and it's been flipped. Sotheby's is there now selling it for $32 million, and you get 5% of that. That's a much better deal than paying on oil canvas, collecting your maybe $1,000 when you first sold it.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot of money.
Yeah, and so like the artist, the creative, owning your own stuff, having your own audience as well, I think will be massive because you're someone right now who's building an audience. You have all these people that are connected to you. Your NFT is worthless unless you have people that agree that it's valuable, just like anything.
So like I can turn this episode into a NFT.
We could, 100%. Linkin Park, one of the guys, I forget the gentleman's name, but he is putting out a bunch of NFT music. Boys Noise, he's kind of like a techno producer. He's doing art mixed with original sound. And a lot of way these NFTs are made or like minted across multiple versions is, for instance, he might have created like 10 unique sounds. And then he puts those 10 unique sounds in a script. And that script tells the computer kind of how to relay out these 10 unique sounds 10,000 times in each a unique way. So now he is someone who's an artist who has maybe made these 10 individual assets, can put them into a piece of programming, and it will automatically create, 10,000 unique pieces of art using the parameters you've given it, aka the script that you wrote, the code that you wrote for the program. So now you're kind of building art as well with code. And I think like listening to future versions of how Photoshop is going to be, I think a lot of Photoshop in the future, I think you're going to be shocked, is going to be open command line prompt. And I mean, legitimately, you're typing in, remove the blue sky and make it purple.
Like actually typing that on a keyboard?
Correct.
So like people like me who just like Photoshop people's like heads onto other bodies.
Correct. You could literally probably
just like tell it like, hey, Photoshop Connor's head.
Correct.
Onto my body. Just like actually type that in.
Correct. Now, whether it be a hotkey type of thing, maybe it's like, key combinations. Maybe it'll auto-populate with understanding what's in the image already.
So you don't have to understand how to use Photoshop. You
100%. Yeah. And the reCAPTCHA that you've been doing on every single thing that you've submitted is just AI machine learning training on how to read what's in an image.
My mind is blown.
Yeah. They don't care about how you can identify your ducks. How many, find all the ducks in the image. It's like, no, train our computer what a duck looks like in an image. So yeah.
Wow. Mind blown. If anyone's still following.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
I went off.
No, but all good though.
Yeah.
Good, because I think it's so educational, because I think a lot of people, especially in our in the NAPA region, may not know and understand this. And believe it or not, I've had numerous requests from guests or from listeners to have somebody on the show to talk about NFTs, and you're the first.
Well, I want to do it justice. It's such a hard thing to encapsulate. You know what I mean?
It's a lot.
So I feel bad if I've done it any injustice to.
No, I don't think you did.
But the biggest thing is understand the deeply, profoundly, value has changed, and the way that we value things has changed. And I think that blockchain technology has really come at a renaissance at a time in humanity, with COVID and everything that's happened, of kind of reevaluating, what we actually what we actually think is valuable in our lives. And then I also think when you pump an incredible amount of money into a system, I think people sometimes are looking at that asset and saying, wow, is this real? You know what I mean? I think the United States dollar and American exceptionalism largely last year is under attack farther than it's ever been.
Definitely.
I don't feel overwhelmingly confident in saying that my $100 will be worth $100 in 2 years. And I think, even running a restaurant business where margins are so thin, when you see 7% inflation, when I have, payroll costs going up, individual employees, about on average across the locations, 20%, food costs rising on average about 15%, so all of these factors and especially the inflation one, obviously, I think not only but I've noticed a lot of people who work in our organizations obviously have a different value of money. I mean, I think that you have, the mass kind of relocation. I wouldn't say it's called quitting, but people kind of switching their careers, that whole kind of ethos that's happening right now in labor. I mean, I think that's largely from, I think people realize that their value of money is different, and the way they look at money, I think, is different. And I think that, that's where crypto is coming in, and right at the same time, people are at home, have more free time, they're learning about these things. I think it's kind of like a perfect storm of trying to redefine how we, value, how you determine what is valuable, how you store value, and how you transfer value. Those things are kind of these lofty ideas that when you start thinking about them, you quickly realize, I think, we've never really readjusted the way that we transfer value, think about value, store value. So I think that's it's happening, Bill.
Yeah, it is. So what do you guys got? Two NFTs?
We have 2 NFTs right now, and we have 6 Counterpart Kombucha NFTs that are about to launch. And we have on our new menu about an additional 6 that are going to be coming out from the Canning House. One of the fun things that's kind of going on in NFT restaurant space, you remind me of Gary Vaynerchuk with your podcasting and your vibes.
Hey, that's a compliment.
Gary's the man. Yeah. I mean, shout out to Gary V. Hope he's listening to this.
He better be listening.
He knows what's good with his time.
Or he's dead to me.
So he just launched an NFT-based restaurant. So
in New York, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I saw this.
He sold, I don't know how many it was, whether it was 1,000 or 10,000, whatever it was, but he instantly sold out. But you have to have that NFT to show up to even be in the restaurant. And if you own the NFT, you can invite your friends or whatever else.
Got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, which is so that's that's happening right now. We're not the only people that are doing this. And I think that attaching NFTs to real tangible value things in the real world, getting a piece of art, owning that on the menu, and coming in and getting something for free every time, I think that is real tangible value for an NFT.
Definitely. So how can someone buy one of your NFTs? Where do they need to go?
They go to OpenSea, which again is the eBay, Amazon of NFTs. And you type in the Canning House, you'll pull up our page, and it works much more like an eBay than an Amazon. The seller pages are definitely, individual people, typically artists or brands, selling their artwork. And then it's also individual people who own their own NFTs that can sell it. When you buy the cauliflower NFT, you can also then sell that NFT to somebody else. So it's always changing. And then when you come into the Canning House, you show it in your wallet. And we won't go into too much about what wallets are, but if you're going to make the jump to get onto OpenSea, they'll walk you through setting up a wallet, and that's where all of your assets are going to live in Web3.
So that's how I'm going to eat at the Canning House for the rest of my life.
Which is crazy. You're going to come in with an NFT on your phone and get food. I mean, it's like
It's weird.
I'm geeking out about it. You know, it's
gonna,
pretty fun.
yeah, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm like deeply convinced, and I think I'll put it like this: anyone who knows anything about Web3, I think is deeply convinced it's going to happen. I've never met anyone who knows like a lot about Web3 and is like, it's not going to happen. Yeah. Anyone who doesn't like maybe understand all the facets, I think is largely like, why are you kids buying $120,000 pictures of CryptoPunks?
Yeah,
online,
right?
You know, and I guess if you don't if you don't understand that this is kind of an example, everything that's happening right now is I think, the early internet. What the smart people are doing on the weekends now, a decade later, everyone else is going to be doing on the weekdays. You know what I mean? So
I like that analogy.
I think that's kind of a lot of what you see. For everyone else right now, like some CryptoPunks online makes sense to all the dorky people and it's fun. It's like,
yeah, because everyone kind of knows what that is.
Yeah, but like obviously, like once it hits the mainstream and your mom's doing it on a Monday night,
it's over.
I'm sure the CryptoPunks won't be there.
Yeah.
I have a feeling,
Yeah.
They'd probably get a better brand deal by then.
Yeah.
So that's like what's going on with NFTs in the restaurant space. And there's just kind of everything that involves in Web3 and NFT, you can quickly go down a long tangent on it. I guess that's the real problem, like communicating about Web3 is like there's so much prerequisite understanding that you really do have to understand, maybe more of like where this could go, that I think it gets.
Yeah,
but I hope I'm trying to make it packaged.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm unpackaging.
I learned. Like I didn't know. I mean, you definitely taught me enough tonight, to understand. Like I knew a little bit, but maybe not as much as I do now.
Give me some confidence.
You're gonna be a crypto billionaire.
I really like that.
You like that?
I like that. I think it's good.
Yeah.
I'll be a number one investor to On the Stacks. I launched the first On the Stacks NFT.
Will you? Will you help me do that?
I think that'd be a lot of fun. So you could do.
Yeah. So tell me, how can I do that? Like what? Like because I've asked to have a couple of like what.
I think we should do it actually real, where we would actually real.
Yeah.
Actually, really.
Like
real. No, what you could do is you could do all the different personalities that you had on the show. Pick out one trait per person. So you're going to be in this like 98th episode. So you'll have 98 traits that we could start with. Get an illustrator to illustrate each one of those traits from those people. So now we have 98 traits. Then we can write a piece of code that'll automatically kind of mismatch all these different unique assets that we have and create, whatever it is that we want to create. So it'll always land up looking like, let's say like, the Bill Corcoran Jr. version of this person. We swap your head, whatever it is that you design for each one of these people and their traits, you then could create, like, let's say we're going to create 10,000 of them. So it'll create 10,000 unique NFTs for you with all the individual 97 traits from each person from the episode. And it'll do that all basically by itself. We have to write the piece of code that'll let it duplicate like that, but then you'll have 10,000 unique assets.
I love it.
And then we can mint, people could go online on your website and they can mint them, which is super fun. So the the versions of NFTs that we're doing at the Canning House are not publicly mintable. So I mint them and then they exist on the blockchain. Yours, the way you could launch it, is like doing a real NFT project because you have enough assets to kind of start with that you could have people publicly mint them. So they go on there and they pay a specific price and they own the original. So like I originally own all the originals of the Canning.
So why would I not want to own the original though? Is there a benefit or a negative? Like what's the difference?
Why would you not want to? Well, don't you want the original?
Like wouldn't I want the original or no?
No, because
like the person buying it wants.
Yeah, so there's more value to them because then unless you're going to tie it to something tangible, I think the value is actually owning the NFT and be part of the On the Stacks community.
Gotcha. So we're really tying these people in.
Tying them in.
Listen up, people.
And so, you have already built this amazing community of people. And as people who are moving from Web 2 to Web 3, the people who've built amazing groups and communities, people who've been real online and not built up like this fake image where no one likes their stuff, no one talks about anything real, everything's about how great they are and, whatever, it's big promotion page, versus like people who are real with people online, have built like a real community, that is immediately going to fold over into Web3, and the ways that you can monetize that community, the ways that community can actually work together on Discord or a voting mechanism, which is like a DAO, which is a whole other thing.
Oh man, we need to talk after this episode.
It's like a decentralized, anonymous organization of people So it's like, think about like how a traditional board would work for a publicly traded company, the exact same way in a DAO. And a DAO is people who own the securitized coins, just like a securitized asset in the stock market, and whoever owns the most has the most voting rights. And then as a community, they get to decide what they're going to do with their project, and that is a DAO. So people who have built these communities that are strongly knit together, people actually give a shit about each other. People are actually putting things on there that are value add. People tune in every week. People like who you are. People love it because there's value in it, and they want to contribute. All of that will be tenfold more than being the M&Ms of the world who are like, okay, we have 2.1 million followers on Instagram, but only 1,000 likes per post. It's like, whether you have 2.1 million or 2,000, it really doesn't matter how many followers you are if it's not an engaged community or if it's not something that is actionable. It's like, if I have 10,000 people that like the Canning House from Utah, that's great, but like there's no immediate actionable ROI that can happen from my following.
Right. Yeah.
Versus if you do have like a well-engineered following, not well-engineered, but you've been thoughtful about how you present yourself or your ideas. You have all this going for you, like someone like Gary Vee, who now that the NFT, now you have an audience.
Big audience.
Yeah. Selling NFTs and having a place in that audience is obviously a lot easier for him versus someone who's starting new. So like the Web 2.0 time that everyone's putting in, building real communities, providing real value in Web 3, I think, you're going to have more ownership over your content.
Me.
You.
On the Stacks podcast.
On the Stacks.
In Web 3.
Think about On the Stacks being published, and you then have the ability to put a smart contract on it, so you no longer just On the Stacks or any type of podcast, you're withheld to the people who distribute the podcast. By that I mean, the stores of which the podcast lives on, whether you be on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, whatever else is out there, Stitcher, or these other companies that, basically do that. They own, Spotify owns your content. Yeah, you get paid a fee, whatever. I don't know how Spotify royalties work, but we all know it's pretty small, especially if you're talking, millions of songs, millions of streams online does not equal millions of dollars. That's for sure.
Right.
So, you have the ability to distribute and own your content the way that you want it distributed and owned. And those smart contracts allow you to do that without centralizing, without saying, oh, well, if this is going to exist, it's going to exist on this one place. The place is Spotify, and there's a $5.99
and there's no middleman.
Right. Yeah. In the new Web3, no middleman, no more Spotify. You can go direct, to your people, just like you could now, though. I guess the difference really being is that their wallet, like the wallet piece is huge. Again, like them having to potentially pay a fee to access, your show. And with that fee would basically be, the hosting of the show. But like all of that is not happening quite yet.
But we're getting there.
We're getting there. And like unique merch with NFTs. And there's so much things that you can do as I think, that when you think about monetizing the show, of course you could sell ads. Of course you have a community of people that you could actionize around something. Maybe we're all, going to go to Susquehanna Brewing Company and meet up as an On the Stacks kind of, listener appreciation thing. And that's tangible, but, you could do real things with that, of course. Lots of podcasts do that. But I think you're going to see more podcasts that are going to start selling digital assets, whether it be their first show, owning that. When you want to own like Joe and Rogan's first ever recording NFT, that'd be pretty cool. It's like, if Barack Obama used to own that that phone's a lot more valuable. Like, it's pretty cool. Like I have Barack Obama's phone. Like having the history of that makes something valuable. That's how value works. So it's like it's not that crazy that like Linkin Park singer is selling an original, sound of him first hitting like a drum for lots of money. People who are fans of that love to own that piece of history, that moment, and there's so much that's attached to the moment. You're not just owning the thing.
Right. We're about 3 hours in.
Yeah, that's what
I'm kidding.
I was like, I don't know how long I've been talking.
Nah, man, this is great. It was really cool to have you come in and drop your knowledge on the NFT space, the giving away the secret sauce in the restaurant business, and everything in between. Jeez,
it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, how do you think you did for your first pod?
Oh boy, I feel like I gotta definitely get more organized in my head.
Nah, it was good.
My head's everywhere. You know what I mean? Like it's really just because I'm always thinking about where I want to keep it going, and then I'm like, oh wait, but I don't know where I am.
I forgot the question.
Yeah.
So that's sometimes I forget what I ask you.
Yeah. So this is how we are.
Yeah, we're on the same page at least.
It's a new frontier.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah, good.
Trying to communicate the excitement to the listeners.
Definitely. So how can our listeners connect with you on social media?
I think the best way to connect with me on social media, if you want to talk about kind of Web3 type stuff, is on Twitter. I'm at Working Lunch, WERKING, and it's luncheon, LUNCHEON.
Love it.
Super fun. And you can also follow all of our restaurants and all of that jazz at Scalleat.com, SCALLEAT.com. And that's kind of where we got all of our locations, history. That sounded so boring.
Nah, it was good.
Locations, history, food. You want a burger?
NFTs.
You hungry?
Bagel Sando.
That's not here.
Yeah, it's all right. We got the
We got Moscow mules.
got the mango mules, so we're good. I think we made it.
Where do you think? So you're an NFT guy. At least I think you're interested.
I'm trying to get into it.
So what are your initial thoughts?
I don't know. I'm just trying to still navigate it.
All right.
I am. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Could you see an NFT with On the Stacks on it in the future?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just got to figure it out and
how we can add value to the On the Stacks community.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always looking to try to find ways to add value. So maybe this is it.
I love it.
I got to do something.
I'm there for it.
Yeah.
I really like the traits of all the listeners. I think that could be really fun.
I think that might be it.
I'm
going to highly consider it.
Dr. Grossman, I am buying your NFT of your version of On the Stacks.
There you go. You listen to his episode. That's it.
Guy dresses like a stud every time you see him.
Fly.
That's the type of NFT I need on my Twitter profile.
Fly guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could do great teeth too, you know?
Oh my God.
This is huge.
Crazy.
We're giving too much information.
We are. Yeah, everyone's going to... We're giving it away. Too cheap. Yeah. Well, this is great, man. I appreciate you coming
Thanks so much for having me. I hope I could try to keep it all as organized as possible.
It was as organized as it could be, after these 27,000 Moscow mules we had, whatever they're called.
It's been a lot of fun, though.
It has, yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. All right. Connor Scalleat, the Canning House, On the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door Studio. Thanks for joining me. If you'd like to learn more about the On the Stacks podcast, be sure to search the hashtag OnTheStacks on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a review. We'll catch you next time on The Stacks.